Hey there everyone, welcome back to the channel for part 3 of our deep dive into Highlander the series, where we'll be covering season 5 and 6 and the 2 TV timeline movies, Endgame,
I am inevitable.
not that Endgame, and the Sci-Fi Channel TV movie, The Source. Or is it The Sauce?
This is the end of time!
Previously on Highlander.
Seasons 3 and 4 also give fans a deeper dive into Joe Dawson. After season 2, the decision was made to get Joe out of that bookstore. Since Jim Burns is a talented singer and blues performer, the powers that be gave Joe his own blues bar to manage in the show. Now, before we jump into my favorite episodes, we've got to talk about what happened back in the day with these final 2 seasons. And I say 2 in quotes, 2 seasons of Highlander. Years ago, I remember reading an article, I think it was in probably Starlog or something. It was around the time season 4 was airing. It said season 5 was going to be the final season of the show. That made sense to me. I mean, the show kept getting better and better with every season. And if they can somehow top season 4 and end the show with a bang in season 5, I don't think anybody would have been disappointed. I'd be sad it was ending, but also happy that I got to enjoy such an unlikely sci-fi fantasy TV series in the first place. It's not as if the original movie was a massive hit, because it wasn't. It only really gained success on home video, and the sequel was quite correctly lambasted by both critics and fans alike. So the fact that we even got a TV series was awesome in itself. So when the 5th season aired, word got out that there was to be another season coming, and this one would, for sure this time, be the last. Okay, fine. You know, I don't think it's a particularly hot take to say that Highlander's 6th season is its weakest. Of the 13 episodes that aired, 6 were basically backdoor pilots for a spin-off series, and 4 episodes were technically holdovers from the 5th season. Look, season 5 as broadcast contains 18 episodes. Not even going to get into the 2 season 4 holdovers that were shoehorned into the 5th season. That's another story altogether anyways. If you add in the 2-episode conclusion to the Ahriman arc, that's 20 episodes. Throw in the 2-part series finale, bingo. You got your 22 episodes. A complete season with a beginning, middle, and end. And obviously, as originally envisioned before, thoughts of a spin-off series and dollar signs danced in the producers' heads. You're welcome, everybody. Right then, let's get on with the review of seasons 5 and 6. Much like Babylon 5, the powers that be decided that what the show needed in its 5th season was, yep, you guessed it, Tracy Scoggins. In the first episode, Tracy's character, Cassandra, is introduced as the Witch of Donnell Woods, an ancient immortal with magical powers. She would serve not only as a new love interest for Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, but also as a foil for Mythos in later episodes. The character was never a favorite of mine, despite being a beautiful, sexy woman that kept my young eyes glued to the screen, but she never really resonated with me as a character, especially that dodgy accent of hers. The next episode, The End of Innocence, deals with the aftermath of 1 Minute to Midnight and its effects on Duncan and Joe's friendship, as well as the dark quickening story and how that incident forever altered Richie and MacLeod's relationship. The PTSD Richie's suffering from by nearly losing his head to his best friend and mentor is front and center in this episode. We see him losing sleep to nightmares, picking fights, and taking heads because it's what we do.
I used to stay up at night, wondering, thinking that there must be some special thing I'm supposed to do with my life because I'm immortal. I had this illusion that because you were my teacher, that you would show me what it was. And you did. There could be only one. Thanks, Teach.
When Richie takes the head of Carter Wellen, he gets the attention of Carter's longtime companion, Harris Clay.
He was my squire and my companion.
Gay! This episode is peak Richie. The character's growth from the first season to the fifth is astounding and wonderfully played by the late Stan Kirsch. Richie's not that small-time teenage crook anymore. He's an immortal, kicking ass and not taking shit from anybody, mortal or immortal. The End of Innocence always stood out to me as one of my favorite episodes because of the way Stan Kirsch's Richie came into his own at this point in the series. He was no longer McCloud's Padawan, but his own man, only for a very short time afterwards. The mid-season stories, Comes a Horseman and Revelation 6-8, represent the 99th and 100th episodes of the series, and gives the viewer a deeper look into Mythos' past when the show flashes all the way back to the Bronze Age. We find out that much like Corn Pop, Mythos was a bad dude who rode with a crew of 3 other bad boys, Kronos, Silas, and Caspian, the legendary 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. I dug the Horseman arc because it's one of those stories where the bad guys get to cut loose and be bad. Well, the series is mostly known for its nuance in storytelling. The idea is that not everyone McCloud fights is 100% evil, with many of them just doing what they think is right for themselves, or just being so old that they can't change who they are at this point in history. I'll tell you, not Kronos, Caspian, or to a lesser extent Silas. These are evil people, pure and simple. They know what they're doing is evil, and they do it anyway in their quest for ultimate power. Duende is another great episode that features one of the best sword fights in the entire series between Duncan MacLeod and Octavio Consone, played by Anthony DeLongis, who happens to be a master of the Spanish sword fighting art, the Mysterious Circle. The shocking 5th season finale, Archangel, introduces viewers to the supernatural Zoroastrian demon Ahriman, who returns to Earth every 1,000 years to wreak havoc. And according to prophecy, the only one who can stop him is the champion, Duncan MacLeod. The demon takes the human form of Horton, Kronos, and Richie, driving MacLeod half mad until he tracks Ahriman down and fights him. The images appear and disappear all around him, and Duncan cannot tell fantasy from reality until one fatal stroke of his sword kills his best friend, Richie, changing MacLeod's life forever. The so-called 6th season begins the 2-part conclusion to the Ahriman arc with the episodes Avatar and Armageddon. MacLeod's world has been destroyed after Ahriman caused him to kill Richie, and after a year in a monastery, the Highlander is determined to destroy the demon once and for all, which of course he does eventually. Overall, the Ahriman arc is okay, but to be honest, it tends to lean a little too hard into the supernatural for my liking, even though Highlander is, at its heart, all about
It's a kind of magic.
Unusual Suspects is a light-hearted murder mystery taking place entirely in 1929, where Duncan and Roger Daltrey's Fitzcairn must unravel the mystery of which one of Fitz's nearest and dearest poisoned him. It was nice to see the writers taking a stab at comedy once in a while as the series progressed over the 4th, 5th, and 6th seasons. I enjoyed most of them, especially after how dark the show's premise was and how some of these episodes pushed that darkness to the very limit. Episodes like Double Eagle, Timeless, and The Stone of Scone show that all sorts of storytelling can work under the Highlander umbrella, when it's well written and performed, as these episodes were. Which brings me to the series finale, the 2-part story, To Be and Not to Be. These episodes are the Highlander version of Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life, when Duncan MacLeod is rendered unconscious during a fight. The ghost of Hugh Fitzcairn takes him on a journey where he learns that what the lives of his friends would have been like had he not existed. For a series finale, it works. You get some action, some emotion, and in the end it gives our favorite characters a walk off into the sunset moment. Viewers were treated to cameos by fan-favorite characters like Tessa, Fitzcairn, and Richie, as well as the return of some of the series' best baddies, from James Horton to Kronos.
If you close the book on the Highlander saga with this story, I think fans would have no complaints. It really was a perfect series finale for a great overall series. But they didn't close the book with the end of the series. Highlander Endgame was released in theaters on September 1st, 2000 to poor reviews and poor box office receipts. That is basically the fault of Dimension Films, who wanted a shorter film with less exposition that, in the end, didn't make a lot of sense to people who were new to the franchise. The movie introduces audiences to Jacob Kell, a super powerful immortal villain that is out for revenge against Connor MacLeod for killing his mentor way back in 1555 Scotland. But this is only after Kell and his mentor executed Connor's mother for witchcraft. In the present time, Connor and Duncan MacLeod must combine their efforts to defeat Kell because, in the end, there can be only one. Jacob Kell has grown powerful by ignoring the rules of the game, rolling with a posse of immortal minions whose job is to soften up the immortals Kell is hunting so that he may take their heads with ease. This method has helped Kell amass an insane 665 quickenings over the years, making him the most powerful villain in the entire franchise. The theatrical cut was 87 minutes long and pretty poor from what I remember, but the DVD release made up for it with its far superior 101-minute producer's cut that improves the visual effects, sound mixing, and color timing, as well as giving us almost 14 minutes of excised material reinserted into the film. The producer's cut is certainly the superior version of the flick and my preferred version to watch, which is a good thing because the theatrical version isn't available to watch anyway. The DVD also features a rough work print version of the movie that has a couple of minor additions to the flick, including Connor delivering a Christmas tree to an orphanage and a shot where Donnie Yen's character beheads himself during the final meal scene with Kell and his minions. I enjoyed both DVD cuts of Endgame, but I don't know why the writers decided to retcon the Kate character into being Duncan's wife when it clearly tramples on canon established in the season 2 episode The Darkness.
He said he would marry me.
I will marry you.
Liar! You will have hundreds of women, but you will never marry, not me, not anyone. You will marry many women, but you will marry none.
But I suppose one could just dismiss that as nothing more than the rantings of a crazy woman, maybe. Anyway, Endgame's a decent ending to the saga of Connor and Duncan MacLeod, if you ignore Highlander the source, which I do personally. But that's not going to stop me from talking about it.
And now to get to the part of the video no one was waiting for. Let's get into Highlander the source. An indeterminate time in the future, the world, Eastern Europe anyway, lays in ruins for reasons never adequately explored, and Duncan MacLeod seems to be some kind of silent guardian watching over the city like freaking Batman or something. So fighting crime and taking names. And we find out via mythos that some kind of cosmic planetary alignment bullshit that makes no sense scientifically is going to bring about Armageddon, while at the same time pointing to the source of immortality. And this is just the first 15 minutes. We also have like the cheesiest villain to ever pick up a sword in a Highlander production. And I'm including like all the previous flicks, every episode of the TV series and the hideous animated series. Oh yeah, and of course we also get the so-called greatest love of MacLeod's life, who conveniently never previously appeared in any other media, but you know, I guess we're just expected to accept that she's always been around, I guess. You know, to say that Highlander the Source was the worst Highlander flick is a given. It's without a doubt the worst piece of Highlander fiction ever released, and I'm including the books and the comic books. With the exception of Mythos and Joe, the characters are flat and uninteresting. Even Adrian Paul looks half asleep in the flick, and I love him as Duncan MacLeod. The story's a bore, the action sequences are flat, the visual effects are TV movie in quality, but I guess that makes sense because it was originally a TV movie. All in all, this is a brutally bad flick. Mercifully, though, it's only 86 minutes long. I swear, if it was any longer, I think I would have cut off my own head. And don't even get me started about that ending.
That was so terrible, I think you gave me cancer.
It's a real shame that this was the ending chosen for the great character that was Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. But hey, on the bright side, the source is no longer considered canon, so we have that going for us, which is nice. From the first time I saw the original Highlander on Betamax back in the 1980s, I've been a fan. And even though the first season of the series started out a little rough, it never stopped me from watching it and taping every episode I could and rewatching it. When the second season expanded the lore, introduced new characters, and started telling longer stories, it only solidified my fandom. Despite a rocky final season, the fact that it still manages to stick the landing in a thoroughly satisfying manner makes Highlander the series one of the great shows of the 1990s. And a strong recommend for those who haven't watched it yet. And hey, if y'all don't want to spend the money to buy the complete DVD collection on Amazon, the series is available to watch for free on the official Highlander YouTube channel. And hey, if you're still here, thank you for sticking around this long. Remember to hit that like if y'all like the video, share, subscribe, smash that bell for notifications. Be safe, and I'll see all y'all in the next one. Later.